Have you ever picked up a can of corned beef and asked yourself, where's the corn? It's a common confusion. You can clearly see the beef, but not a single kernel of corn in sight. For generations, the name has puzzled people, making many assume it's some kind of beef and corn mixture. But the truth is surprisingly simple. Corned beef has absolutely nothing to do with the vegetable we call corn today. The word corned comes from something far older and much saltier. We're breaking down the unusual history behind the name corned beef, how the dish developed, and why this preserved meat became a global staple. To understand the name, we need to travel back to a time before refrigeration existed, when keeping meat from spoiling was a serious challenge. One of the most reliable preservation methods was salting. Salt pulls moisture out of meat, stopping bacteria from growing. The origins of the name. But the salt used back then wasn't the fine table salt we know today. People used large, coarse granules. In Old English, the word corn didn't refer to maize. It meant any small, hard particle. So the corn in corned beef described the big chunks of salt used to cure the meat. In other words, corned beef originally meant salted beef. Ireland and England became major producers of salted beef. And by the 1600s, Irish corned beef was being exported across Europe and the Americas. Ironically, many Irish people during that era couldn't afford to eat the high-quality beef they produced. It was mainly an export product, while everyday families relied more heavily on pork and vegetables. It wasn't until Irish immigrants reached America that corned beef became part of the Irish cultural identity we recognize today. When large waves of Irish immigrants arrived in the United States in the 19th century, they adapted their cooking to what was affordable. Pork, their usual meat, was expensive in American cities. Beef, however, was cheap. Jewish butchers in New York were already making their own salted beef, which tasted similar to the Irish version from back home. The combination of Irish tradition and American availability led to the now famous dish, corned beef and cabbage. Interestingly, what many consider a traditional Irish meal is actually an Irish-American invention. In Ireland, bacon and cabbage was far more common. Corned beef wasn't just a household food. It played a major role in global logistics. Its long shelf life made it a favorite for sailors during the Age of Exploration and for armies fighting long campaigns. By the 18th and 19th centuries, salted beef was a central part of the British Navy's diet. Later, during both World Wars, canned corned beef became essential military rations. The iconic rectangular can was engineered specifically for efficient stacking, storing, and opening in the field. A food we see as simple today was once a crucial resource for exploration and survival. As corned beef spread, different cultures adopted and transformed it. Caribbean dishes like bully beef mix it with rice and spices. In the Philippines, it's a beloved breakfast staple with garlic rice and eggs. In Latin America, it appears in empanadas and sandwiches. In Hong Kong, it shows up in breakfast macaroni soups. A simple preserved meat turned into a global ingredient with countless variations. Today, corned beef can refer to two different styles depending on where you live. 1. Fresh brined corned beef, common in the US. A pinkish, tender brisket boiled and sliced, often served with cabbage. Moist, soft, and traditionally flavored. 1. Canned corned beef, popular worldwide. Shredded, salted, and packed tightly into rectangular cans. Compact, convenient, and long-lasting. Both versions come from the same old idea, using large grains of salt to preserve beef. When people hear corned beef, they naturally think of corn the vegetable. But the name is a linguistic fossil, a leftover from a time when corn simply meant grain or particle. As the English language evolved, the word shifted to refer specifically to maize, but the old name stuck. The food stayed the same, even as the language changed. So why is it called corned beef if there's no corn? Because centuries ago, those big salt crystals, the corns, were the key to keeping meat fresh. What started as a preservation method became a comfort food, a symbol of cultural adaptation, and a culinary bridge across countries and generations. From Irish exports to American delis to Filipino breakfasts, corned beef has traveled the world, carrying a little bit of history in every bite. Thank you for watching. If you have ideas for future videos, drop them in the comments. We'd love to acknowledge your contribution.